Says Donda passed away suddenly at the age of 58 on November 10th, 2007, a day after she underwent cosmetic surgery. Following her passing, it was found her death was caused by heart failure due to multiple post-operative factors. Wes's mother had a liposuction, a tummy tuck, and a breast reduction. And a day after she had those surgeries, she passed away. So, you know, I'm not of the mindset. I'm not of the mindset where I think that, how do I put this? If you walk into my office and I'm a plastic surgeon and you get ready to get like 3 different things at one time. So I'm probably getting like 50,000, you know, I don't know what these things cost. So I'm assuming they cost like 10, 20,000 a piece, right? So I'm getting ready to get 20,000, 50,000. I'm getting ready to get $1,000. You know, I'm getting ready to get some money. I don't think that they're in the business of telling people, hey, you know what? These surgeries probably not, you know, you're probably not in a good condition for these surgeries. You know, don't spend that money here. You know what I'm saying? Why don't we just do one? How about we just do a liposuction? Then you come back after we see how you respond to this. Come back in 6 months or a year, and then we do the breast program, and then we do the whatever the third thing was it had. Like, I don't think they're into turning down no money. So I really think it's on the woman and the men to really assess their health and make sure they are at their healthiest when they go in to make these changes, and maybe consider not going in there, you know, to get 2 or 3 different things at one time. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just don't take our health serious, I don't think. You know, respectfully, I'm sure that, you know, that's still an open wound for Kanye and his family. I know for sure it's still an open wound for DC and his family, but these are such big people in our lives. Like, people, like, we almost all love Kanye's mom just because of how much we love Kanye. You know what I'm saying? The people that don't even know, that never heard of DC Young Fly's wife before this incident, we still love his wife because we love DC Young Fly. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just the personalities are so large and so well known. People have to use these as examples. You know what I'm saying? And not to get on your high horse and be like, yeah, well, nobody should be getting plastic surgery. You only live once. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, YOLO. You know what I'm saying? But YOLO in moderation. YOLO in moderation. Like, we got to take these things serious. That's my take on it. I think that, you know, we're putting too much trust in the hands of these doctors. You know, we thinking that the doctors, we get the best doctor money could buy, that we good. Nah, bro. I'm sure beyond a shadow of a doubt, Kanye moms went to the best doctor she thought she could find. I'm sure beyond a shadow of a doubt, DC Young Fly's wife went to the best doctor. You know, like, I'm sure they didn't go to some guy in the motel with a butter knife. Like, you know, I'm sure they went to the best that they could find. It's just a matter of, was their bodies able to handle, you know, and it's a lot of people that are not a relative of a Kanye. They're not a relative of a DC Young Fly, and they just die without the world knowing these stories. Period. You know, they go quietly because nobody knows them. Or maybe they're a little circle, but it doesn't go around the world. You know, and so we don't get the opportunity to just say, hey, with respect to the families, the children. We understand the loss, but hey, this can be an opportunity to learn something. Like, we need to take these things like Olympics or like a finals or like a Super Bowl or like a boxing match championship coming up. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm about to get a surgery. Well, I think they called it a mommy makeover. I'm about to get a mommy makeover. They about to do like 3 or 4 mini surgeries on me all at one time. Bruh, you need to hire a nutritionist and a trainer. You need a Dr. Enqi. You need to come hire Dr. Enqi to live with you for 6 months or 3 months before you go into a surgery like that. Period. You need to have the highest level of nutrition, exercise, calorie, this, blah, blah, blah. You need to make sure everything, blood markers, everything got to be in line before you go get something like that. You know what I'm saying? Because end of the day, nobody, I don't want to say this correctly. Nobody loves, like nobody gets the chance to love the potential person you would have become if something happens tragically and you don't get to live through that transformation. But dozens, hundreds, maybe even thousands of people love the person you already are. No matter what type of level of body dysmorphia you personally are dealing with, there's already people that love you in that body right there. So you can make you some slow overtime transformation. You don't necessarily have to poof it in this whole new. Because if it goes wrong, people are going to be like, that's when people will say, oh man, I wish, what if we could have just, man, I would have rathered. So that's all I'm going to say. We really got to work out. We have to have a very strong immune system. We have to learn the difference between our body being in a catabolic state and an anabolic state. We got to know the difference between bodybuilders saying they eating clean for fitness, knowing that's not really healthy, even though it helps to keep them in an anabolic state and building up the body. That's not healthy. We got to know that fasting and looking like skeletons, although it might help you with a disease in the short term, if you're dealing with diabetes or some, byproduct of obesity or estrogen, fasting may help, but that's not long-term. To be long-term healthy, to have longevity, this is the one thing that all the blue zones have in common. Movement, high activity, perpetual motion with a balanced diet. Because some of these blue zones, they eat almost all plants. They almost totally vegan. Some of these blue zones, they eat meat, alcohol, and smoke cigars every day. I had a grandfather, lived up into his 90s, was working every day. My man, liquor, cigar. Some of these blue zones, they fasting 2 months, 3 months. So you can tell it's not the fasting, because otherwise the other blue zones are unexplained. You could tell it's not the plant-based diet, because otherwise the other blue zones are unexplained. The only thing that goes across the board with all of them is the exercise, the perpetual motion, the balance between calorie intake and calories burned off. And we have to learn how to thread the needle and moderate that for our lifestyle, whatever that means, whatever our lifestyle is. period. Whatever our version of health is, whatever we're trying to, however we're trying to live, whatever makes us feel good, we got to earn it. We got to earn it. Remember, money doesn't have a value. It's fiat. It's fake. It's not real. Period. So you got to earn things with, sweat equity. Sweat equity and paying attention, And if that means you got to put a few dollars to it too, so be it. But even in that case, you still got to earn that with sweat equity and paying attention. You still got to work to have that. So, yeah, hopefully that, hopefully that adds and some folks out there that may be thinking about having some cosmetics done, take what I said into consideration. You can't just eat wildly reckless to get thick and then go to the doctor and think you're going to have him grab all the fat and then put it in your butt. And then you're like, that ain't it. That ain't it. And like I said, I don't know what DC Young Fly's wife was doing. I don't know what she wasn't doing. I'm just speaking in general. Like these things, like we need to make sure we are conditioned before we do something like this. You can die. Let me tell you something. You can die if you don't exercise at all. This is why we're doing a push-up challenge. And slowly, each month, we're adding in a new thing or two. Because if you go from not exercising to all of a sudden you watching these guys on the YouTube and you trying to do some old crazy calisthenics, or you in the gym trying to do some old super squats with all kind of weight on your neck, you could die. You could catch a heart attack and die. You could create a hemorrhage and die. Because exercise and too much exercise could be too much for you. My friend Vic, when I was a kid, he went to the basketball court to play basketball with his dad. Vic was about 30, 29, something like that. His pops was twice his age. That shit stuck with me. I do this shit for real from the heart. I loved Vic. Vic was one of the first people in my block to believe in my music. Yeah. He was one of the first people to believe, like, nah, don't worry. I'm going to talk to these niggas. I'm going to make them fall in line with this music shit. You got this. Yeah. Went to the basketball court to play basketball with his dad and died. Crazy. Fucked me up. You know what I'm saying? Fucked me up. So, yeah, we got to prepare for this stuff. We got to train. We got to get in shape for this stuff. And I know some people might be like, well, if you got to train and diet and exercise in order to have plastic surgeries, what's the purpose of having plastic surgeries? Because training and dieting is going to make you reach your best, fullest potential of what your genes have in store for you. But you may want something that your genes don't have in the cards for you. In that case, you still need to work out and get yourself healthy enough to go and purchase whatever it is that makes you comfortable. But you have to know that you're putting your body through an insane, grueling, rough, like going 12 rounds with Floyd Mayweather or something, you know what I'm saying? Or going one-on-one with, LeBron or KD or one of them niggas. Like it's not just that simple. Like you just don't go to the doctor, they put you to sleep, and then you wake up with, big boobs, or you wake up with an amazing butt. Like it's not like that. You know what I'm saying? Your whole biochemistry and neurochemistry gets thrown into a frenzy. And your body has to be strong enough to adapt and readjust and realign without rejecting the new changes and all that. Like it's a lot. So you really got to be conditioned for that. So, yeah, that was a pretty edgy, that was a pretty edgy question. I hope nobody gets offended, but it was a good question. That's a good question. In fact, I think we need to end the show on that. Yeah, we need to end the show on that. So thank everybody that supports. Continue to send the cash apps and support the website. Continue to lean on me. You know, right now, you got the best nutritionist in the world working for you for free. You know, some of y'all don't take advantage. You know what I'm saying? You got my phone. I'm like, yo, text my number, 586-298-5000. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to ask you, like, if I don't recognize you as a supporter, if I don't recognize you from sending in no cash apps, if I don't recognize you from hitting that website, if I don't recognize you from sending in no push-ups, and you hit me up with a bunch of complicated questions, I'm going to support your questions the same way you support us. You know what I'm saying? But if you a Patreon, if you send cash apps, if you a Patreon, shit, you can hit my phone all day. You know what I'm saying? If you a Patreon, you need to be hitting me up all the time. I'm in the supermarket right now, Dr. Enqi. I'm thinking about getting this coconut oil, all of this olive oil. Which one should I get? You know, I'm about to get me some juice. Should I get the orange juice or the pineapple juice? What should I do, Dr. Enqi? Go with the parsley or the cilantro? Hit me up. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.